What is up, guys? Justin here with part 2 of my garage sale pickups from this last weekend. Now, if you have not already checked out part 1, definitely go and do so. I'll put a link to that video on the screen here somewhere and also down in the description. It was one of the better garage sale deals I've gotten in my lifetime, so check that out if you have not already. This part 2 is going to be everything that I picked up on Saturday, along with one other deal that I got on Friday, which is, I guess, where I will start. So Friday morning, before I got that incredible deal, I rolled up to a sale that was run by, it was an older couple, and so I didn't really expect to find anything. But before I left the sale, I noticed that in the back corner of their garage, they had a box for an old video game organizer. And I actually think I took a picture of it, so if I did, I will show that to you guys right now. But the box they had was labeled Christmas decorations. So before I left the sale, I just said to the guy, I saw the box for an old video game organizer back there. You don't happen to have any older video games like that or systems that you're looking to sell? And he said, as a matter of fact, I do. And so I went into his house and ended up coming out with an RCA Studio 2 Pong console and a big Commodore lot. And I'm not going to have enough room to show all like that stuff in my little corner here, so I'll just talk about it a little bit and do like an overview video of it so you guys can see what I picked up. But yeah, I ended up getting the RCA Studio 2, which actually came with some cartridge games, and I didn't even realize that that system played cartridge games. I thought it was just a Pong console, so to see some games for it was pretty cool. And then the Commodore lot that I got came with a bunch of stuff. It was like the system itself with the keyboard and everything, and then it had a couple of boxed drives with it, like a boxed floppy drive and then a boxed, I guess, hard disk drive is what I would call it. I've never been the biggest Commodore guy, and I really don't even know what I bought. But there was another big box that had a bunch of games in it. With some joysticks, like both cartridge and floppy disk games, and like all the manuals and everything seemed to be there. So I'm thinking I got a pretty good deal on it. I ended up paying him, it was $15 for the Studio 2, which is probably a little more than I should have paid for it, but he sold me that huge Commodore lot for $40. And I think he was originally asking $50 and I got him to sell it for $40. So like I said, I have to think that I got a pretty good deal on it, even not knowing what I bought. I really don't know what I'm going to do with it. I definitely don't have room for it here. I know Ryan was interested in taking a look at it. He's much more into that old computer stuff, so I'll find something to do with it. But yeah, for $40, I thought that was a pretty solid deal on the Commodore stuff. So anyway, that was the other deal that I got on Friday, so I'm going to move on to the stuff I picked up on Saturday now. Saturday was another pretty amazing day. So when I first went out, I hit up a few sales in my neighborhood and didn't find anything. But then I drove a few miles up the road to what was kind of a community sale. It was more of like a street neighborhood sale. There was like 8 or 10 houses that were having sales. And at the first one I stopped at, I found this Game Boy bag. So I opened it up, and there was a original Game Boy system inside of it, which had Tetris in it there. And then there's a few other things in this bag as well. A couple more games, which were True Lies and Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening. And then in the back of the bag, there was a high-frequency magnifying lens for the screen, and then the manuals for both games and the system. So the system's a little bit beat up, but even if it does work, I'm not going to be too concerned because they were only asking $2 for it. So I happily handed them $2 for that, and before I left the sale, I said, do you have any other video game stuff that you were looking to sell? And the guy told me no, but then his wife yelled to him, what about the Wii game? And he told me that he had an old Wii game that they were selling, and so I asked him if he knew what game it was, and he didn't know, so he's like, I'll just go get it and you can take a look at it. So I'm half expecting him to come out of his house with just like a Wii Sports or something, but he actually came out with a boxed Wii system. And this came with a few other things, which I'll show in a second. And it was a real quick kind of wheel and deal situation. I asked him how much he wanted for everything. He told me $25. I asked him if he'd do it for $20. He said sure. I handed him $20, and I took everything. So as I got about halfway back to my car, I realized that the load of stuff I was carrying was relatively light. These box Wii systems are pretty heavy when everything's in there. So I had a hunch that there might not be too much in the Wii box. So I got back to my car and opened up the box, and sure enough, there was nothing in here besides some baggies and some twist ties. So I'm like, all right, well, I got to go ask about it. So I brought the box back down there. I said, hey, do you happen to have the system or anything that goes in this box, because there was nothing in it. And the guy's like, oh yeah, sorry, I must have just forgot to put it in there. Seems like kind of an odd mistake to make, but he went back into his house. And as he was looking for the Wii stuff, I was kind of browsing around the rest of their sale. They had like some digital cameras and stuff there that were in their boxes that I was checking out. So I open up the boxes and there's nothing in them. So I don't know if these people were just really that oblivious to what they were trying to sell, or if they were trying to like rip people off or what. But sure enough, a few minutes later he came out with all the Wii stuff, and it looks like it was all there. I mean, right down to like the Wii Sports and everything. So I'm pretty sure this is a fully complete Wii system now. And also with that deal, probably my favorite part of that deal was this Mario Kart Wii bundle here. It was the bundle that came with the game and then the wheel. Which is pretty cool. I did not have this yet for my collection, so I might have paid like $20 just for this by itself, honestly. And then a few other things that came with it. There was an extra controller and nunchuck. The controller was actually in the box, which was awesome. So yeah, $20 for all that was a pretty solid deal. I guess I wouldn't have been too devastated if I got home and realized that the Wii system box was empty, but I probably still would have been kicking myself for not going and at least asking about it. But yeah, even to get that Mario Kart bundle was pretty exciting. So actually, I left that community sale. I didn't find anything else there. And as I was driving around, I got a phone call from a guy that I did a Craigslist deal with at the beginning of April, I believe, and I got actually a lot of really nice stuff off of him. And he called me again and told me that he had a couple PS2 Slims and an Xbox 360 that he was looking to sell. And we actually ended up just real quick working out a deal over the phone. I hit up a few more sales, and then I met up with this guy and ended up picking up 2 PS2 Slim systems. This one here is like the common one with the brick power cord, but this one here is actually one of the later models, I think, with the internal power supply. So it just uses like the same power cord as I guess like the PS2 FAT system. It looks pretty similar anyway. And then so there was a couple controllers that came with that, first party one and then this Pelican one. And I believe all the cords and stuff were in here. There's the power cord, the brick power cord, and then the other power cord for the later Model 1, and both AV cords were in there. So that was cool. And then the 360 that I got from him was a white 360 system. I think he said it had like a 20 gig hard drive. I don't know, did they make a 20 gig hard drive? If so, that's probably what this is. It was a little dirty and a little bit beat up. The memory card A slot there is kind of pushed in. But I mean, as long as it works. I asked him if it worked. He told me that it did work. It wasn't red ringed or anything, so I haven't got around to testing it out yet. But yeah, it came with the power brick and the AV cord here as well. So yeah, I think I got that all for $60. Pretty much $20 a system, I guess, and he seems satisfied with that. I don't know where this guy keeps getting his stuff, but if he keeps selling it to me for cheap, I'll keep buying it, I guess. So moving on, a few sales later, I went up and asked about, it was just a real small sale, and they didn't have any game stuff out, but I asked about game stuff, and the guy brought out a couple PS2 games. I was like Medal of Honor, which I passed on, but I gave him a couple bucks for Sly 2 Band of Thieves. And then moving on to a sale that actually wasn't even on my list of sales to go to. I saw a sign for it while I was driving around, and I believe the sign said that they weren't opening until like 11 a.m. and I think it was probably like 10:15 at this point, but I decided I'd drive by anyway and see if they were set up. So I drove over there, and they were just setting stuff up, but I walked up and asked if they had any video game stuff that they were selling, and the guy told me that he did, and they hadn't brought it out yet or anything, but he was nice enough to let me come into his apartment and check out what he had, and I ended up picking up a Sega Genesis bundle from him. It was a Model 2 system here, which came with 1, 2, and 3 controllers, along with both adapters for it. And then it also came with a stack of games here. Probably the best one, and the only one that was actually in its case, was Streets of Rage, which unfortunately did not have the manual. I don't know that I have any of the Streets of Rage games complete yet for my collection. And then the rest of these games here are all loose cartridge, and they're nothing too special, but there was quite a few of them. Sonic 2, World Series Baseball, Pro Moves Soccer, NFL Quarterback Club 96, NBA Action 94, College Football's National Championship, Desert Demolition starring Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote, and then a few more of them down here. We got Aladdin, Royal Rumble, Family Feud, Miss Pac-Man, and Pebble Beach Golf Links. So I think he was asking $25 initially for everything. I asked him if he'd do it for $20, and he was a little bit hesitant, but he had a couple original Xbox games there that he was looking to get rid of. So I told him I'd do the $25 if he threw in these 2 games, and he said sure. So we got NHL 06 and Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. So not a bad deal for $25. Obviously nothing special on the games, but as long as the system works, I think that will be a pretty solid deal for $25. Alright, and then moving on to a sale that I probably should have hit up on Friday, honestly. It was starting a little later on Friday, I think at like noon, and I had to be to work by noon, so I didn't get a chance to go to it. I probably should have went to it a little earlier in the day on Saturday because they did actually advertise that they were selling video game stuff. When I rolled up there, I was kind of happy to see that it didn't look like their stuff had been really picked over much at all. They didn't have a ton of stuff, but they had a stack of PS2 games and 1 original Xbox game, and they were selling them for $1 each. Some of these were a pretty good deal for $1. So we got From Russia with Love, 007, Lord of the Rings, The Third Age, Star Wars 2, the original trilogy. Probably the best one that was in there was Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3. That's not the Tenkaichi one, but it's just the regular Budokai 3, but I still think that one goes for a little bit. God of War, Devil May Cry, Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time, Genji or Genji, Dawn of the Samurai, and for the original Xbox game was Ghost Recon. And they also had this there, which was a GameCube strategy guide for Luigi's Mansion, Smash Bros, Wave Race, and Pikmin. I made sure to ask if they had any GameCube games they were selling or anything, and the guy told me that this wasn't even his, he was just selling it for somebody else. But yeah, I got everything from that sale for $10. I think there was 9 games and then the strategy guide. I definitely made sure to ask if he had any other older games. He told me he had like an N64 and stuff that he wasn't really looking to sell, but I left my number for him just in case he changes his mind. Not expecting a call back, but you can always try, right? So moving on next to probably the most odd find of the weekend by far, and I kind of alluded to this in part 1 of this weekend series here, but when I picked up that Wavebird controller in that deal that I got, and it didn't have a receiver. But oddly enough, I rolled up to a sale on Saturday later in the day and found a Wavebird receiver. This was the only video game item they had at this entire sale. And I just managed to spot it on one of the tables of random stuff that they had. So I went up to the lady and I said, hey, you know, looks like it's for a video game system. Like, do you have any games or systems you're looking to sell? And she told me no, she had no idea where this came from. She found it in a drawer somewhere and threw it out on the table for sale. And so she had no idea what it was, and she gave it to me for free. So I'm not going to complain with that. I now have a complete Wavebird controller. And then finally, the last couple pickups for the day came from, I think it was the last sale I stopped at for the day, maybe the second to last sale, but they had a couple Wii games they were selling for $1, so I picked up a couple Thrillville, Off the Rails, and Cruisin'. I think I passed on like a Hannah Montana game and one other one that wasn't worth it even for $1. But yeah, so I think that was everything that I picked up for the weekend. This obviously in combination with what I picked up in part 1, our previous video. Just an absolutely insane weekend. Actually, an insane start to the garage sale season as a whole. I mean, even last week with like that N64 bundle I picked up and stuff, it's just been a crazy start, and I'm really hoping that this luck continues into the rest of the season. So I want to thank you guys for sticking around and checking out this whole video, and until next time, take care.